What if God was one of us?
Just a slob, like one of us.
Exactly.
Part 1 of Lucifer's 5th season was a ride and a half, and although no release date has been officially revealed for its second part, word on the street is that it will be hitting Netflix within the next few months. With hype at an all-time high, the timing couldn't be any better for the devilish show. Fans just can't seem to get enough of. In fact, there are a number of theories floating around the internet at the moment that, if true, could help take Lucifer to the next level. So, if you've been battling with withdrawals from everyone's favorite demon, or simply love to theorize about popular Netflix shows, don't move a muscle, as we're about to explore some insane fan theories that are sure to blow you out of the water. But will they end up being true? It's up to you to let us know in the comments section down below. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We're giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice, so be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter this giveaway. It's really that simple. The spotlight on Maze. The general consensus with the population of Lucifer's superfans is that Part 2 of Season 5 is loading up to be one of the saddest to date, which makes sense considering just how great things have been going for Chloe and Mr. Morningstar. Don't get us wrong, it's not like nothing bad has been happening on the broader spectrum, especially with all the body snatching going around. But it's nothing compared to the atrocities of previous seasons. So, this had fans wondering, what the heck are the showrunners going to do to rip the hearts out of our chests? We know that nothing can happen to either Lucifer or Chloe, as, let's face it, Tom and Lauren absolutely make the show what it is. But there is one character fans are crazy about that can't be taken out of the Lucifer formula without breaking much of its structure. We are of course talking about Mazikeen, as portrayed by the beautiful Lesley-Ann Brandt. And while it may be true that Maze has no soul on account of her being a demon and all, eagle-eyed fans remember that Lucifer still holds the soul ring, which, way back when, imprisoned the soul of Lilith. In other words, if May somehow got a hold of the soul ring and ended up dying and being sent to the underworld, so would the ring that has trapped her mother for centuries. What will be an incredibly sad moment can turn into one of the craziest demon fights of all time, with Maze finally taking on the mother that refused to accept her for who she is. Now, that would be an amazing ending to one of the greatest character arcs in all of Lucifer's seasons. Come on, Netflix, give us what we want. We know what you're thinking. Chloe will always be our queen of hell, right? But don't you worry, as this theory has nothing to do with someone stealing Lucifer's attention from the love of his life. In fact, this theory has less to do with hell having a new queen, and more to do with hell having always had a queen, just unbeknownst to Lucifer. You see, a few seasons ago, Lucifer told Amenadiel that he had escaped to Earth because hell no longer needed a ruler. While most of us immediately saw this for the excuse that it was, a few fans started to make some notes. When Lilith was finally introduced into the series, this theory started to materialize into what it is today. What if Lucifer was actually telling the truth? He might have thought that hell had become self-sufficient and thus no longer needed a ruler because someone was actually ruling on his behalf behind the scenes. Who, you might ask? Well, Lilith, of course. Some validity is granted to this theory due to the fact that Lilith actually died at the right time to take on the mantle of the underworld. We also know that she doesn't have a soul, making her the prime suspect for any hellish puppeteer that may appear sometime in Part 2 of Season 5. Better yet, if Maze does die as we suspect she will, this will give Lilith the opportunity to show Maze why she decided to give birth to her without a soul. Dying with a soul comes with the chance of being tortured for generations in the fiery pits that she rules over after all, which is probably a greater excuse than any. But hey, we still want to see a demon fight, right? So let's hope that Maze has some denial left in her system. The return of Eve. The next fan theory is actually less of a theory and more of a statement by fans who absolutely adored the character of Eve, so gracefully portrayed by the one and only Inbar Lavi. Having spent the entirety of her life in what she described to be the boring gardens of heaven, Eve came down to earth to slum it with the king of hell in a retelling of the biblical story of the tasting of the apple of Eden. Suffice it to say, fans loved watching a character with such childlike wonder exploring the doom and gloom of our world, along with the crazy guidance that Lucifer was prone to giving her. And while no real proof exists to suggest that this theory might be coming true in the second part of the season to come, this hasn't stopped stop fans from begging Netflix to bring Eve back from her journey of finding herself. How fun would it be if she came back from this journey as someone who is less childlike and far more evil, making a commentary on our world being one that corrupts even the purest of minds? We'd also love to see a continuation in the quasi-love story between Maze and Eve, which was a breath of fresh air so far as representation in media was concerned. Regardless of how the showrunners do it, we think we speak for most fans when we say we just want to see our girl Eve back again. Chloe is both Lucifer's life and death. As we said earlier, the show can't exist without Chloe and Lucifer, whose relationship, although tumultuous, is the backbone of the series. It all started back in season 1, where Detective Decker was first introduced to the charming but arrogant Lucifer, who seemed to annoy her at every turn. But because of her nonchalant attitude towards him, his inability to manipulate her, and the overall spark of attraction between them, Chloe and Lucifer finally collided, becoming the couple of the century. That being said, there was a problem with this relationship. You see, when Lucifer was alone, he was incredibly powerful, but bringing Chloe into the mix made him become vulnerable. We understand how this was great and all from an emotional perspective, and love seeing the devil break down his walls, but there's no doubt that Lucifer would have prepared to be stronger and invulnerable in all battles surrounding her. In season 5, however, we saw how being around Chloe no longer made Lucifer invulnerable, which begs the question whether the coin has flipped, and Lucifer is now only vulnerable when Chloe is no longer around. It's this thought that spawned the next theory on our list, which is that Chloe, by being apart from Lucifer, will in fact be his end. It would be a real Romeo and Juliet ending to an incredible love story. But we must admit, we'd rather have the two of them living happily ever after at this point. But I suppose we'll have to see what the showrunners do with this relationship in the future. The truth about Charlie. The relationship between Amenadiel and Linda introduced viewers of the show to a new format of love we weren't used to seeing, which is the love parents have for their children. In the world of Lucifer, parents aren't always the best of role models, after all. So, seeing Amenadiel battling with the concept of parenthood and clearly overcoming these battles with the love he has for his son was wholesome to say the least. But what many fans tend to forget is Amenadiel's visit from his sister, Azrael, otherwise known as the Angel of Death. According to Azrael, a new celestial has come into existence in the universe, and many fans seem to think that Charlie is the embodiment of the celestial that she was talking about. If this ends up being true, the little guy is going to pack an insane punch sometime in the future, and will most likely end up saving the world when everyone else has nowhere else to turn. This would make for a moment that is both surprising and incredible, which, in all honesty, is what Lucifer is all about. Ella discovers the truth. Ella is by far one of our favorite characters from the Lucifer franchise, and considering how she is portrayed as an innocent doctor with a love for science, it makes sense that she hasn't been clued in on who Lucifer actually is. She believes in empirical evidence. After all, with science and religion often being thought to be mutually exclusive of one another. In other words, we suppose there are reasons for her not seeing the signs regardless of how intelligent she actually is. That being said, since she is one of our favorite characters, we would just love it if she could finally be clued in on the fact that he is actually Satan. There's no evidence whatsoever to suggest that the showrunners will be attempting this in Season 5, Part 2. But we're seriously begging here, Netflix, make it happen. The time loop. Time is a dimension that not even the biggest and brightest quantum physicists understand fully, which is why our next theory on the list is a bit of a shot in the dark. That being said, there are a few indications that it might just be true, and it wouldn't be the first time that a world-class property attempts to tackle the concept of time. We're looking at you, Avengers Endgame. According to this complicated and far-fetched fan theory, Lucifer is actually stuck in a time loop. Over the last few seasons, we've discovered that hell wasn't just all about torture, and that some sections of the underworld were actually aimed at having people relive regrets from their lives while being able to change the course of events at all. Although still torturous, this gave a bit of nuance to the underworld, and got the broader fan base thinking, what if Lucifer is actually stuck in a time loop back in hell while someone else, such as Lilith, rules in his place? This would bring up quite a few questions, such as what Lucifer regrets most in life. Was it losing the throne? Or something far more heartbreaking like being unable to save Chloe from a certain death? Either way, it would be great to see Lucifer escaping this literal hell and coming to terms with what he couldn't change. So, what do you think of these fan theories? And which do you think might be coming true in Season 5, Part 2? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below.